Welcome to the latest episode of Trojans Wired, the podcast, which is an in-house production of the website Trojans Wire. We are part of the College Wire Network. 18 through 15, 14 through 10, 9 through 7, 6 through 4, and now here we are, the top three teams in the Big Ten Conference in women's college basketball, as predicted by our USC women's basketball analyst, CC Clay. So, this is late July. It is the summer. So, once again, these are early bird predictions. They're going to be fluid as soon as we get into October practice, as soon as injuries hit, as soon as the flow of a college basketball season begins. So, the point is not to kind of etch things in stone and put them on the tablets like the Ten Commandments. This is rather of just getting an early sense of the balance of power. And then from that first rough draft, we get to see which teams live up to the billing, which teams don't, and what factors, when the season begins, will be responsible for where teams ultimately do land in actuality. So we're just trying to give you, our audience here at Trojans Wired, a sense of how the balance of power might shape up in Big Ten women's basketball. So it's not the end of the conversation. It's only the beginning with CC Clay. So CC, number 3 in the Big Ten to start off our show today.
Number three, I have Michigan. And I think Michigan. I think they're going to be a scary team next year. A lot of people think they're still young, but they have all their sophomores returning, and that core played all year together. I mean, they started every game. Nobody walked, nobody left that team, and then they bring in Kendall Dudley from UCLA, and they bring in a young lady by the name of Ashley. I can't pronounce her last name. So Hanowich. She's a 6'3" forward from Bucknell. She was the MVP of the Patriot League last year, and for the last 2 years, she's been the all defensive team. And then her freshman year, she was on the all freshman team. So I'm excited. I mean, you got Olivia Olson, Silas Wards, and Mia Holloway. Their point guard coming back. Man, they're going to be a tough out next year, I think.
And for our USC women's basketball audience, everyone remembers that Big Ten tournament semifinal. That was a very tough game. It was an uphill battle for USC for two and a half, 3 quarters before the Trojans really found their footing down the stretch. What do you remember from that game? And obviously rating Michigan number 3, I'm sure that a lot of what you saw in that game helped inform this prediction. Putting the Wolverines in the very top tier of the conference. What did you see in that game? What were some of the impressions, takeaways you had from that game?
Just of the team from the beginning of the season to the end, and the grit that they had, and just the chemistry. They built a good chemistry over the season, and they're just going to be a good team next year. They, like I said, you got their core returning, and plus they bring in these two transfers. Um, they're going to be a tough out.
No, I mean, Michigan played really, really strong defense. And as you said, with so many pieces returning, that's going to be a cohesive team. So you'd figure they're only going to get better on defense. And there's a lot of room for growth with that team, which was very young, did well. And now with a year of experience, you would think, yes, Michigan's going to be a very, very tough out in
You've
the Big
you've
Ten.
experienced, and again, Silas Wards went and played with the Canadian national team again, like she did last year, as well as the U19 team. So she's got all that international experience as well coming back into the team this year. So I'm excited for Michigan, honestly, because that team plays with a lot of grit and a lot of heart. And seeing that they have everybody returning, and then they bring in these two transfers, Kendall Dudley and the young lady from Bucknell. I can't wait to see her play, the young lady from Bucknell, and how she fits in from a mid-major to a Power Five team. So that's going to be interesting to see. But I mean, she was MVP of the Patriot League last year, so she's going to be good. It's just, will she be able to bring the talent that she had, you know, at Bucknell to Michigan?
And having a solid returning core, but then a couple of high impact transfers, that gives Kim Barnes Arico, the coach, a chance to really explore with some combinations. I mean, she's going to have a lot of different options at her disposal. So Michigan can put offense first lineups, defense first lineups on the court relative to what it needs in various situations, and that flexibility could be a real weapon for the Wolverines. Any other notes we want to add on Michigan?
No, I just think that she was really nitpicky with who she went and got in the portal. She didn't just go get best available. She got what was going to fit her team. I think Kendall Dudley, um, not playing that much at UCLA, I think is going to make a big difference at Michigan, because I think here she's going to fit in a lot better than what her position was at UCLA. So I'm interested to see how Kendall Dudley transfers into Michigan, and what role she plays there. But yeah, I'm just excited to see Michigan play next year.
All right, so we older basketball fans such as myself remember moments such as the 1985 NBA draft when the number two pick was revealed. And when the number two pick was revealed, and it wasn't the New York Knicks, I think it was the Pistons, I'm not sure, but as soon as the non-Knick team was revealed as number two, Dave DeBusschere, representing the Knicks, just erupted, because that meant he knew he'd be getting Patrick Ewing in that 1985 NBA draft. So we've arrived at the same moment. As soon as we announce number two, that'll tell us who number one is. But of course, we're going to be talking about number two before we talk about number one. But nevertheless, number two is going to reveal number one. So for the second place team in the Big Ten in women's basketball in 2025-2026, CC Clay selects
Maryland. Maryland will be the number two team as of right now, just because of all the pieces that they have. I mean, they have their core returning as well. I mean, they have a strong team, and then they bring in um, Oluchi Okawana from Duke. I'm terrible with these names, who was tremendous for Duke, and they bring in Garzon, from Indiana. They're just stacked, and then they got Kayleen Schmeichel, Bree McDaniels coming back off ACL injury, Mir McLean, Saylor Poffenberger. I mean, they just got a really, really good squad, and it's going to be interesting to see. How Brenda Freeze puts Garzon and this young lady from Duke, how they're going to mesh with this team. But Maryland's going to be good. Now, I will say, if you've noticed, I mean, all these teams in the big, like I think I talked about this last week, they don't have like a true center. Maryland doesn't have a true center. Michigan, they have, yeah, she's a true center, but she's not a true center. The only teams I feel that have true centers are UCLA and Penn State with Grace Merkel. Now, Maryland had Grace Merkel. She transferred out of Penn State and transferred into Maryland and decided she didn't want to be there, probably because she figured out that that wasn't going to be her style of play, because Merkel's a pretty big girl and Maryland's a running team. So she went back to Penn State. And so that kind of, took the air out of the balloon for Maryland, I think, but they're still going to be a tough team. With
I think a
Grace
lot of
Merkel, with Grace Merkel, if Grace Merkel would have transferred into Maryland, I would have put them number one over UCLA, honestly.
I think a lot of USC women's basketball fans are going to look at Maryland's portal pickups and say, that's probably better on balance than what USC did. Now, one of the things that you've really reaffirmed, and you talk about it whenever we talk about USC, is we're fine. Like, this staff knows what it's doing, and it doesn't try and overextend or overreach for best player available. It looks for the right fit into the culture, into the way that this program likes to operate. But I think that some USC fans are going to say, gee, why couldn't we have gotten Garzon? Why couldn't we have gotten the kind of, I would say this is a splashier class. That doesn't mean it's better, but I would say it would be a little bit splashier. So talk to fans about, the comparison of the two portal classes, and is there anything USC could have done, should have done? How does it all stack up from your perspective?
All about fit. I think Garzone is good, but I don't think she would have fit in the type of system that Lindsay Gottlieb runs. I mean, when you're looking in the portal, it's all about fit. And again, I will say a lot of agents are making these decisions. So, that has a lot to do with it. But we didn't even go after Garzone, so I don't think that she would have been a good fit at USC, in my opinion. Um, the young lady from Duke, maybe because she's defensive minded. She's a great defensive get. Again, it's all about the mighty dollar. You know what I mean? And plus, she's from the South, so she probably wanted to stay closer to home. Um, the other thing I'll say is Maryland got this forward from Florida Gulf Coast who's 6'3", who averages 17 points a game. And she's a forward, and she's gonna have to slot into that center position. So that's gonna be interesting too. But as far as portal pickups, um, we got who we got for a reason. You know what I mean? We got people who are going to fit our system, people that, you know, are going to be around for 2 years, except for two, London Jones and Cara Dunn. Cara Dunn fits our system. She fits what we want to do. She's a great get. You know what I mean? So if those people are saying that Maryland got a better portal class than us, I don't really think so. I think we got Cara Dunn and London Jones. Those we could put those head to head with Garzone and the young lady from Duke any day, defensively and offensively, and system wise. So it's going to be interesting to see, honestly, how Garzone fits in Maryland's system.
So when USC did play Maryland, and of course that was a game that Maryland led by 7 in the fourth quarter before the Trojans were able to make a great rally down the stretch in College Park to win that game. One thing we saw over and over again in that game, we obviously talked about it a lot here on our show back in January when it happened, was Maryland's guards taking USC defenders one-on-one, often dribble drive, and usually to the left side of the basket, going to the left and getting to the cup, or at least close to the cup. Um, how different will Maryland be? Is it still going to be a lot of dribble drive, get ISOs 15, 18 feet from the basket, spread or clear out the floor and try and get, one-on-one situations in which you have a quick ball handler who can, get by the defender? Or are these transfers going to kind of change the equation for Brenda Freeze? How do you think Maryland's offense is going to look? How do you think it's going to operate, more or less?
Well, they got shooters now. Like Kayleen Schmeichel was their main shooter last year. She was great at 3-point shooting, but then they bring in Garzone, and she's a catch and three shooter as well. So that I don't think that you're going to see as many dribble drives as you did last year because we got shooters. So it's going to be interesting to see. I don't know what Brenda has up her sleeve, but I'm sure she's going to tailor that offense to fit the players that she has. I mean, you got a defensive specialist from the young lady from Duke, and then you got Kayleen Schmeichel, who's a 3-point shooter. Got Bree McDaniel coming back, and you got Garzone, who's a 3-point shooter. So it's going to be interesting to see how she spaces the floor next year.
This does bring up a larger question, not just about Maryland, but really about Big Ten women's basketball in general last season. And I go back to your point about how you don't have a lot of true centers, true bigs at playing the five in the middle. And so, is Maryland and doing what it's doing in terms of roster construction precisely because it sees so few actual centers, and that, just a drive and kick game, or at least an offense that's based on spreading the floor, getting the ball to shooters? Like, is that being consciously done because Brenda Freeze and because other coaches in the Big Ten see that, hey, without a true center, without that low post hammer, the best way to score in this conference is going to be, dribble drive and then kicking out to shooters for 3-pointers? Do you think those things are interrelated, or is it just about, this is the way each program likes to go about its business and just like this is what we do? How do you assess that?
Well, remember, Maryland tried to get a center in Grace Merkel. She's 6'6", and she had committed to Maryland. That would have changed the whole scope of what Maryland was going to do offensively. When she decided to go back to Penn State, now Brenda has to figure out how she's going to make what she has work with her catching three shooters. I'm interested to see who she puts in that 4 and 5 position because that's going to be dependent on the type of offense that she runs. I won't know that until November, but I'm anxiously awaiting to see who's going to be in that 4 and 5 position.
I mean, obviously we don't really know what's going to happen. We don't know what Brenda Fries is going to do, but knowing her and knowing Maryland, do you think that, we're going to see a lot of small lineups and small ball and emphasize pushing pace as much
Well,
as
they're not
possible?
they're not that small. I mean, they have 6'3". Their guards are big guards. They're not small guards. The small guard that they had last year, she's gone now. So they have 5'9" and up, which is a pretty average size team. Other than missing a center. So, I mean, they like to run anyway. Brenda Freeze's offense they like to play transition ball. They like to get up and down the floor. So I'm sure we'll see that. The interesting piece is how is she going to fit in her 3-point shooters now? How is she going to set them up for catching three positions so they're able to get the ball and in a catch and three position and shoot the ball?
Any other notes on Maryland?
No, I can't wait to see, the changes that they make defensively because of the guard that they brought in from Duke, how Kaylin Schmeichel and Garzon play together, how they play well off of each other, and what changes to the offense, if any, are they going to make?
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. That is definitely a formidable team. USC found out in that game, which was an uphill battle before the Trojans were able to pull it out late on the road last January. All right, so now we go to the predicted Big Ten champion for the coming season, and no surprise here, the UCLA Bruins. With the fact that Lauren Betts is coming back, and now you add Sienna Betts. I think with UCLA, the discussion begins with lost some key pieces, but adding a few notable names, Neepkins, from Utah, Sienna Betts coming in, how she plays with Lauren Betts, in terms of the losses and the additions, or the losses on the roster and the replacements, like how do you think that equation shakes out? Obviously, if they're being predicted to win the conference, they're not losing too much, but perhaps then this becomes a conversation of when we get into March and we get into next year's NCAA tournament, is the equation for UCLA going to be fundamentally the same, or is this roster going to pose some different challenges for Corey Close going into the NCAA tournament?
The reason why I put them number one is well, not the only reason, but there are a couple of reasons why I put them at number one. One, they were a Final Four team. Two, they have 7 people coming back, and 5 of those 7 played together. The core pieces that they lost were Janiyah Barker, who came off the bench and gave some formidable minutes, but I don't think that she met the expectations that she wanted to meet as a player or how she wanted to be used. And then London Jones, who came on over to the right side. So those were the 2 players that they lost off this core group. And then you gain Charlize Ledger-Walker, who took a year off
Yeah.
because of her ACL. And then you have Sienna Betts coming in. And then you have Angela Dugalech, who decided to come back for a 6th year. And then you have Amanda Muse, who was the backup center to Lauren Betts. The team is just stacked. The question is, what I'm really interested to see is who's going to play point guard? Is it going to be Kiki Rice or is it going to be Charlize Ledger-Walker? And how are they going to fit together on this team? So that's going to be interesting to see. But Sienna Betts, she has a lot of growth that she has to achieve. And I think being on UCLA's team under her sister will help her. But she has some deficiencies. So I'm not basing the ranking on them receiving Sienna Betts. I'm basing it more on who they have returning and then Charlize Ledger Walker as well joining that team or being able to play this year.
Yeah, I mean it's when a player who was previously injured joins the team, it's like adding to your roster, though it's not a transaction, it's not a trade, but you at UCLA is essentially adding a player because that player was not available a year ago. So that's always
Yeah.
worth keeping in mind. Um,
You got to
now,
remember
how
too.
did
You got to remember too that when Charlize Ledger Walker, when she joined that team, when she left Washington State, she was the best player on Washington State's team.
yeah.
I mean, she was coming to UCLA as the best player off Washington State's team. She's a good player. I mean, she can shoot
Mhm.
the ball, she can pass the ball, she can play defense. So, I mean, she's a really added value. Neepkins, if you give me a minute, I want to talk about Neepkins. I'm sorry I interrupted you, but Neepkins being added to that team is a replacement for London Jones. The difference between Neepkins and London Jones is that I don't think Corey Close utilized London Jones the way USC is going to utilize London Jones, meaning we're going to showcase more of her abilities than UCLA did. UCLA predominantly wanted to use her as a catch and three shooter, but there's so much more to London Jones's game than just a catch and three shooter, and that's why Neepkins will probably be a better fit because that's. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not trying to be mean, but that's all Neepkins can do. She kind of reminds me, and this is not. She kind of reminds me of Avery Howell. She's a catch and three shooter. She doesn't really have any playmaking skills on her own. Can she get to the basket? Yes, sometimes, but it's not her best skill. Her best skill is catch and three shoot. So that fits more with UCLA style of ball. Now, how UCLA is going to utilize her with London Jones and Kiki Rice and Gabriella is going to be very, very interesting and intriguing to see.
Yeah, so I mean, it's no insult to say that you're a specialist, right? Like there are specialists in all kinds of sports. People who do one or two things really well, but like they're not those quote unquote five tool players or everything players. That's just a reality with Neepkins. You got at something I was going to ask you about, in terms of without London Jones and with the new pieces in place, what stylistic elements are going to be part of UCLA's attack. Do you envision, let's kind of shift this away from London Jones since you addressed that topic. Do you think that Sienna Betts and Lauren Betts are going to be on the floor for the large majority of minutes, or do you think that in Sienna Betts' freshman season, Corey Close is going to see value in staggering Lauren Betts and Sienna Betts minutes? How in terms of cultivating growth in Sienna Betts, is it better for her to be playing alongside her sister on the floor or to be observing from the bench and then Lauren gets a breather, Sienna comes in? How do you think Corey Close juggles those kinds of questions?
Because Lauren is a dominant five. You know what I mean? She's never really shared the floor. I mean, they had a four, but the four played top of the key. You never saw them down, on the post together. So, and Sienna's just like Lauren. I mean, she's a back to the basket type of center, doesn't really like to go out into the lava, you know, doesn't really have, I haven't, I've been watching the U19, the whole tournament. And I never saw Sienna take an outside shot, not even from the free throw line. I saw her shoot free throws, but I never saw her take an elbow three. I never saw her take a baseline jumper. I haven't seen that yet. So I don't see Corey playing them together. I mean, she might. Who knows? To say, hey, we're the biggest team in the big, and we're just going to beat you by playing our two bigs. But Sienna Betts today in the final, struggled, against a post player that was just as big, if not bigger than her, and stuff, and she struggled against the double team. So the only thing that Corey might think about doing is playing them both. You can't double them both. If you try and double them both, one's going to get open. So that might be the thought process going into Corey's mind. I don't know, but I mean, both of them are paint players. None of them like to go out and I mean, both of them they don't like going out in the lava. They're just alike. So I think maybe Sienna's going to might be a little bit better come her senior year than Lauren, but Lauren's been really rapidly improving year after year. And so it's just going to be interesting to see how that dynamic works out for Corey. Because then you got
Absolutely.
Amanda Muse, and Amanda Muse is their other 6'4" center. She can play outside in the lava a little bit, but traditionally Corey's centers have always been back to the basket centers. So her plays and her system relegate to that. Although even though she relegates to that, like there were many times when they should have thrown it to Lauren and they didn't. You know what I mean? So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the thought occurs to me that, if you have a couple really tall, skilled bigs, that you could just, put one on the elbow and you put one on the low block and you have a high-low set and you can, throw the ball over the top of the defense. But, based on what you've said, that might not be the path that Corey Close takes. But of course, it's only
Who
July
knows?
and this is something that might she might not show it at the start of the season. Maybe she springs it on the Big Ten after Christmas in early January. It'll be interesting to see if Corey Close sticks to one kind of model or plan, or if she has a mid-season changeup
Well,
ready
you
for
have to have,
the Big Ten.
you know, if you're going to do two posts like that, you have to have some athleticism to you, because if you look at the difference between UCLA's post players and SC's post players last year, we definitely have more athleticism, and therefore we could actually put a post out on a perimeter and then one down low. Now they tried to do that with Betts and Dujulek, so they might do that again this year, and then have Sienna Betts come in off the bench because Dujulek, she's the big center that can shoot the three. She's coming back for a 6 year, so they might do that again, but they still didn't utilize Betts the way the system was set up to be utilized.
All right. One
Dukalich, it's how
other,
you say your name, Dukalich. All these, look, guys, forgive me. Me and last
yeah,
names,
yeah,
they
Dugalich.
don't,
Yeah,
they don't want Dukalich,
yeah. One
Dukalich. Yeah.
other one other point we obviously have to ask for our USC women's basketball fans here listening on our or watching on our podcast is what about the matchup between USC and UCLA? Obviously, you don't have Clarice and Rhea to use up 40 minutes and a lot of fouls against Lauren Betts. Like that was extremely effective. Lindsey Gottlieb and Beth Burns played their cards really well against UCLA. I mean, USC really, really bothered UCLA in this matchup. So to me, that seems like the first point of concern for USC is, without two proven defensive bigs who did such a fabulous job, what's the adjustment for Lindsey Gottlieb and Beth Burns and the rest of the staff against UCLA's elite size?
Well, you're gonna have to outrun UCLA. You know what I mean? And that's gonna be where the focus is to outrun them and get them tired and get Betts in foul trouble. Now, I will say, even though we only utilize Rhea and Clarice to help, with Lauren Betts, we do have Milton, we do have Viv, we do have Laura Williams, we do have the new young lady coming in from overseas, and we do have Dayana Mendez, who's 6'3" as well. So we got plenty of players that can do that. The question will be, can we get them ready defensively and mentally to do the job that Rhea and Lauren did and Kiki against Lauren Betts? We have the people to do that. It's just a matter of going out there and doing it and not being intimidated by Lauren Betts, which clearly Clarice and Rhea and Kiki were not. But again, if you watch the tape on Lauren Betts, she, for her being as tall as she is, 6'7", man, I mean, she has two moves. She never turns back to the inside when she has the ball. When she gets the ball down low, you rarely see her turn back to the inside. She always turns to the outside. Why? I don't know. She might be working on that this off season, but that would add to her bag clearly. And she's not going to go out to the perimeter. So if you know these things about Lauren Betts, you key your defense on her specific movements, knowing what she's going to do. She's either going to get the ball and pass it out, or she's going to get the ball and turn to the outside and shoot. Those are her two moves.
Let's turn to when USC has the ball. I mean, obviously, when USC is going to play UCLA a couple times next winter, so obviously, when the actual day of the game arrives, we'll be able to go much deeper on this kind of question. But let's just offer an early bird view here in the summer when USC is on offense. What do you think the line of attack is going to be against this UCLA team? And no Barker, no Dudley. But there's still a lot of size and length, but maybe it's not quite as experienced size and length. I mean, Dugalich is experienced, Lauren Betts is experienced, but Sienna Betts is not. What do you think is going to be the offensive game plan for Lindsay Gottlieb against UCLA?
Again, their whole offensive system, I think, is going to change this year anyway, because they're really got some really talented guards on this team for this season, and I think you're going to see a lot more. You're going to see read and react, but it's going to be a lot more motion and cutting through the keys and setting picks and pick and rolls with this team. So, look for us to attack. Look for us to attack Lauren Betts and get her in foul trouble like we did last season. But look for our guards to be cutting and setting screens a lot more and participating more in pick and rolls with our bigs, which the bigs that Lindsay got are able to come out to the perimeter. One, Viv has been working on that since she got there under Kiki and Rhea, the pick and rolls. And then we got Laura Williams, who's coming back. And then this new young lady from overseas. If you watch her game, she plays out on the perimeter and starts the offense doing pick and rolls. So I think you're going to see a lot of focus on movement, a lot of read and react to what the defense is doing, but understanding where to set the screens, when to cut, and running. We're going to try and get out. We're going to be fast. You thought we were fast last year. We got some guards that can attack now. You know what I mean? I mean, not that we didn't last year, but we got Jazzy. Jazzy can attack. Kennedy can attack. Kara Dunn, she loves to attack, and Lennon Jones will attack. So we have a lot of players that can dribble. Can go off the ball and dribble, drive, and kick. So I think you're going to see a lot of that utilizing screens and motion.
All right. And so, but side note about Gerda, the Lithuanian arrival. I looked all over the internet this past week because I said on our previous show, I gotta learn the pronunciation. Like I Googled, her last name pronunciation. They didn't have one. I looked for it, and I looked for video cuts, highlights with a play-by-play announcer saying her last name. I couldn't find anything. So Gerda, if you're watching or listening, like we're trying to unturn every stone looking for the pronunciation for your last name, but like we're not gonna wing it if we don't know it. Okay? So just wanna put people at ease. So for now we just have to go with Gerda. And as soon as we'll keep looking, but like it's pretty sparse on Google right now. So just wanted to pass that along to our viewers. But Cece, you did a film breakdown of Gerda on your USC YouTube channel. Tell us what else you have going on at that YouTube channel and also at your Substack.
Yeah, so Jazzy Davidson, I did a film breakdown. Truth in the Trenches just released on Friday. If you haven't watched that, please go watch it because we talked about some truth in the trenches regarding Caitlin Clark and her development and how it relates to how she's developed from the age of 5 on up to what's going on in the league now. Very good video. And we talked about some culture issues as well in the WNBA. So please go check that out. Substack, I am finally getting ready to post. I'm getting ready to post a story on the WNBA CBA and what's going on there. And I think you'll find it very intriguing because I actually break it down. And then I talk about the NBA and I also bring in Formula One into that discussion. And so look forward to that in the next couple of days. And then some great news. My website is finally done. So I'm happy about that. It's just me releasing it. Hey guys, once it's released, I will ask that you go onto the website to my blog page, which is called Talk to Me, and subscribe so you get notified when I leave a comment or when I have some breaking news that I post about. It won't, and then my Substack is separate. It'll just be a blog page. If you want to comment on something that you want me to talk about, or you want me to raise a question, I will to throw out to subscribers. I will, but do me a solid and go sign up, because we want a lot of fan engagement on that website. This Thursday, I have Dr. Nikki on the podcast coming out. So that should be pretty good. If you don't know Dr. Nikki, she is the dean of the Gould School of Law, and she's very, very tied into USC athletics. So that's going to be a good pod coming up. It's already been recorded. It's just about releasing it. And yeah, so that's what I got going on.
And be sure, if you missed it, CC interviewed Courtney Jaco, USC women's basketball assistant. Be sure to catch that. She's interviewed Mackenzie Forbes, part of the Ivies, and that terrific 2024 team that made the Elite Eight, won the last Pac-12 tournament. So lots of archives in addition to the fresh shows that CC is adding right now this week to her USC YouTube channel. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and get the notification reminder. All right, CC, anything else before we go?
Yeah, that website is called USC Women's Basketball Media Lab. Everything on that website, or anything that you need regarding USC women's basketball, you'll be able to find on that website, whether it's, old stats, new stats, game day stuff going on. I even linked ESPN LA radio to the website. So if you want to listen to it via the radio, you can. Team, individual stats, player stats, team stats, anything you want. You don't have to go to different websites to get it. I got it all on my website. NCAA stats, everything. NCAA polls, so the coaches poll, AP poll. You can click on a link through my website and get everything you want there. I'm very proud of it. Took me some time to get that together. I'm proud of it because I did it myself. I built that website myself. So anybody listening, whatever you put your mind to do, you can do it. That's all I got to say about that.
Well, when we consider where USC women's basketball was when Lindsay Gottlieb took over, and when we consider what USC women's basketball journalism and coverage were a few years ago. So Lindsay Gottlieb built a program. CC Clay is building a USC women's basketball information and analysis resource, a one-stop shop. Like its convenience, its expansiveness, and its depth of quality and insight. Everything you could hope for, it's at CC's USC YouTube women's basketball channel. Congratulations to you, CC, on what you're building. And, it's going to be a great resource for fans. It's also going to be a great resource for journalists and content creators, such as myself. I'm going to be using that site very regularly, but now the public can too. It's a really terrific initiative on your part, and we can't wait for the launch and the release, and especially when we get into the season. It's just going to be a great resource, and again, a one-stop shop for USC women's basketball fans, commentators, everyone who cares about the program. All right, any final thoughts?
Man, I'm tired. That's all I got to tell you. I'm tired. I mean, it's been a lot of hours in the day, up until the night, putting this website together, along with still trying to do YouTube videos and podcasts. And so, I'm just, I'm really happy that I got it done. I'm so happy. So there is one more thing I want to say. There is a shopping link on there that is coming soon. I got plenty of time to build that page out. So when you go on the shopping link, it says coming soon. I am working on my own line, of course. And along with my own line, I will have some affiliate links on there for you guys to choose, all things USC basketball gear. So I will give you a hint that my line is going to call my clothing line is called Be Yourself, because I believe in authenticity and being yourself at all times. So coming soon.
Lots of exciting things ahead from CC Clay. Far beyond this podcast, we're really looking forward to the launch of that channel and all of the opportunities that will create for you and for the USC women's basketball fan base and community. A great thing to look forward to as the season inches ever closer. So for CC Clay, this is Matt Zemek. Thanks for listening to Trojans Wired. We will see you next time.